I'd done research on some of the outlaw clubs, their moral code, and how they led their lives. A lot of them began post-World War II, where these guys were coming back from the war, not really ready to conform, to settle down, and there were these clubs that were more about camaraderie and blowing off steam, and a lot of them were war heroes. Obviously, I wanted to contemporize it a little more in terms of the Vietnam War.
The percentage of veterans who end up members of motorcycle clubs is inordinate. I mean, it's off the board. It's probably like 95%. They're a little larger than life. They're warriors. They're rough. And there's not really a place for them in society unless they assimilate away from what it was we asked them to do. So their whole sensibility with regard to what they thought was patriotism is like screwed with. And they decide, okay, if we can't depend on what we thought we could depend on, we're going to just build something for ourselves.
They're not, going to allow, Big Brother to dictate the parameters of their life to them. Prepared to just say fuck you to the, to the government and law enforcement and every other, motherfucker that spends all day long telling them how they can and can't live their life.
When John Teller and Piney Winston, who were in Nam together, came back, they both had the notion to begin this club. My sense is that Piney was more of the sentiment of, fuck these guys, and had a more sense of outlaw and desire to not conform. I think John Teller was a little bit more of the hippie anti-establishment. Not that he was all about anti-war. Obviously, he went and fought, but I just think he was the dreamer of the two. And as Jax talks about in the pilot, I really think he believed in, like, this sort of Harley commune. They were kids, and they were, they were boys. And then life happened. They started this, and then John knocked up Gemma. She was, a kid at the time, and wasn't going to be on the road having this kid. And the history for me is that Gemma grew up in Charming, and she's the one that brought these guys to Charming. When they came to this town, John Teller thought the name Charming was a little bit too cute to be the actual name of a charter. He then referred to them as SAMCRO, Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club Redwood Originals. The Sons take a lot of pride in the fact that Charming is a safe place. They make a deal with law enforcement, and it's, in this case, they made a deal with UNSER. You look the other way, you pay us, if you're a new business and we're loaning your money or whatever it is, you pay us a VIG or you pay us a protection fee if we're watching your store. You don't do bad things in Charming without suffering the ramifications,
No one deals in Charming.
It keeps Charming charming. And what it does for the club is it provides, a safe place to do the business that they need to do to have the finances to live the lifestyle they'd like to live.
Yeah, we may be doing X, Y, and Z that's illegal, and we're, there's violence, but ultimately, my family is safe, my brothers are safe, and this community that I've promised to protect is safe.
You're gonna need protection. Keep this beautiful setup.
Seems awfully nefarious for mechanics and Harley enthusiasts.
Well, you pay or you go away. Your choice, Adolf. We start slow. Grand. First every month. Welcome to Charming.
These guys are outlaws and the rules don't apply. But the interesting thing is that within their organization, they have a very rigid set of rules. It's like a military unit.
The leader of the club rules by the consent of the members of the club. A lot of things are put up to a vote, and everyone has to go along with how that vote goes down.
The hierarchy in the club in terms of president, vice president, sergeant-at-arms, treasurer, road captain, to become a member of the club, first you're a friend, and then you're a hang-around, and then it's the grueling process of being a prospect for a year or longer in some cases before you're patched in. That's all very real.
Taste test.
Mushrooms. Tripping mushrooms?
Need to know if they're any good.
smell like shit.
They grow on shit.
It's all about loyalty. Club comes first. When your brother needs you, you drop everything and you help your brother.
Everything all right?
I need you.
You gotta go.
The sort of commandments, some of them are understood, but yeah, a lot of them do have an actual rules of the road sort of a thing. You know, you don't sleep with somebody's old lady when you can wear your cut and when you don't wear your cut. If you get the call and the club or brother is in need and they're saying strap on a gun because we need to do this, you can't say, well, no, I'm not, you know, you strap on a gun and you come to your brother's aid.
Bobby's hitting the shoulder. He's bleeding real bad.
Hold your fire, man. Let him have the guns.
So I'll go.
Get you more goddamn guns.
Gotta take care of our guys.
Time for a change.
The manuscript that John Teller wrote, you know, he wrote after the death of his second son, and I think it was looking back at that arc of, well, was my intention, and this is ultimately what we became, and, you know, it was him purging, you know, I think his guilt.
My dad wrote this before he died. It's his vision for the club. What went wrong and how to save it.
Jax's view is, and what his father's view is, you know, getting him out of the business that ultimately is going to destroy them. I think Jax really feels like ultimately, you know, being in the gun business and supplying guns to people that are killing people, you know, besides the bad karma of it all, is ultimately, you know, will eventually destroy them.
At the end of season 1, Opie got kind of stitched up by the ATF agent Stahl, and she basically framed him as a rat. And I just knew that it wasn't true and went to great lengths to convince Clay and the rest of the club that that wasn't the case. I lost that fight, and Clay went ahead behind my back and tried to have Opie killed. In keeping with a lot of the things Clay does, it went horribly wrong.
Clay and Tig made the decision to keep it a secret. You know, that definitely did. You know, there was a fracture in that moral code.
The night that Donna was killed, why was she driving the truck?
What are you asking me then?
She wasn't supposed to be in the truck. Or...
Son of a bitch.
It's devastation for the equilibrium of the club going forward.
You knew about Donna the whole time.
I couldn't tell you, man.
Clay, Tig, how the hell am I supposed to share a patch with them?
Burden lands on the club. Clay is Clay because of us. We made him.
I think Jax really feels like ultimately there's got to be a better way. And reading his father's manuscript, sort of the light goes on for him and realizes it's up to me to make that happen.
Your father saw this coming. Saw the feds, the Irish, guys like Sobel.
And he knew we were gonna die bloody.
We're not gonna die bloody.
And one of the things I wanted to do with the show is, you know, as well as entertain, is really to, you know, allow people to see inside this world and see these guys as just men, you know, and men who have made, you know, a lifestyle choice that is foreign to most of us.
They have extreme methods, and they live, you know, in a manner that some people might find distasteful or a little extreme, but at least they have, like, true freedom.
Their fathers, their brothers, their sons, their husbands, they're providing and taking care of their family, they're servicing a greater good in terms of their club, they're upholding and protecting their community. That is the inspiration and the reason why they do all these other darker things. In season 2, we take a step back and we look at that and see all the things that could potentially go wrong within that. When you have this moral code and these strict sets of rules, and you have these relationships and these bonds that are really strong, what happens when they get turned upside down?
Hey, man.
Come on. No, they need this.
You know, the thing I love writing about are all those relationships, you know, all those complexities, all those nuances of human nature and the father and son of it all and the brother of it all and, you know, the mother, son of it all. That's the heart of the drama, and that's what I'm drawn to as a writer. You know, and the tone of it and the world is just sort of dressing for that, I think.